More than 200 students at Hillcrest High walked out of school today because they say they were told to censor their Black History Month program. ABC 3340's Megan Scarano is on the story tonight. She joins us live from Hillcrest High. Megan, what did students say they couldn't include in that program?
Brenda, the walkout lasted about an hour here this morning at Hillcrest High, and students on the board of the Black History Month program say that they were told that they had to leave out topics like the civil rights movement and slavery from this year's program. And it's something that the students tell me is insulting and out of line.
I think this walkout says how passionate I am about having this Black History Month program. It's everything to me.
Jemiah Brown organized the walkout at Hillcrest High, and all of these students supported her. She says the demonstration was in response to what the students in charge of putting on the program were told by an administrator.
We were told that we could not talk about slavery in the civil rights movement because one of our administrators felt uncomfortable.
But admitting vital parts of history didn't sit well with the students involved with the Black History Month program.
My protector from 8 a.m. to 3:15, for you to tell me that I can't talk about something that is dealing with my culture is very disturbing. It's very confusing. Why am I being censored about my culture? Something that is rooted in me. Why can't I talk about it?
I reached out to Hillcrest High School for more answers about the direction students were given. I was told to contact the Tuscaloosa County School System. They sent us this statement reading in part, "We are putting together a plan to make sure our students feel heard so that we know the right steps to put in place to ensure all students know that they are valued." Hillcrest High School students reached out to their local NAACP chapter for guidance.
I don't know how you could talk about Black history in this country without talking about slavery or the civil rights movement.
As the leader of the NAACP in your community, how does that make you feel?
Angry. I'm angry. And part of me feel like we failed our students.
Students tell me they were just recently made aware they can now talk about civil rights and slavery in their program at the end of the month, but that doesn't take away the pain the initial direction caused.
Without our history, we are nothing. Without teaching our youth where we have come from, how can we move forward?
Hello, everyone. It's Pro White Male Leadership. I hope everybody can hear me. If you guys cannot hear me, you should refresh your page. There could be a possibility of a delay on your end. It seems like it's good on my end because I am using multiple devices. But for those of you who can't hear or see for whatever reason, just refresh your page and just come right back. Brent, do I sound good?
Sorry. Yeah, I hear you good. The video was a little low.
Oh, the volume was low on the video. I'm sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, but I can hear you fine. But I did hear it through. It was just kind of low.
Oh, so from what you heard, Brent, what do you think about that video with those high school students walking out of that high school due to them not being able to talk about or learn about Black history before 1970? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, were they told they just can't talk about it? I guess I mean, they should be able to talk about it. And it's history, and but I don't know. Just walking out, because I think there's other ways to handle it. There's certain things we can't talk about at schools, and not just civil rights things and history or slavery. There's school boards that take away a lot of stuff they don't let you talk about. But I don't see no problem talking about slavery. I mean, I think they need to put it in historical complex and not just on what happened, for a historical perspective and know what happened. But I would have to look deep in what that's about, because I don't think they would tell them they just can't say it. I mean, was it something in the curriculum that they were going to put in there, or did they just tell them you cannot talk about slavery? A lot of times we hear stuff and we might get a misconception. I mean, it sounds wrong for them to tell them you can't talk about it because it's a historical thing in our country that happened. They should be able to talk about it. I don't know. I just can't see the school board saying you can't talk about it at all. I don't. I mean, my opinion is, hey, you should be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And it is a historical event. We should know about it. But that's from what I've seen. If they say they can't, they're wrong for that. I mean, but then again, I don't know why they said that, or is it something that they're doing that puts in a different content?
Well, Brent, why would you believe a school board will say that they're removing a particular curriculum from the school, but they're saying that you could talk about Black history after 1970? Why do you believe they did that?
That you could talk about it after 1970?
Yeah, they did not want them talking about slavery or civil rights.
Oh, prior to 1970? Well, we're probably still in the segregated time, the Jim Crow laws. Maybe they didn't want people focusing on that. I don't know. And back then they could tell them what they want them to hear. But in today's world, I don't know how they could not talk about it, or, and maybe they just didn't want them they didn't want any issues with slavery, getting kids angry in school and focusing on that. And maybe they thought if they talk about it too much, it'll create some division, some anger. I couldn't tell you why. That's just me speculating. Well,
I think I have a clear reason why they said that. I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. But what today's discussion is going to be about, it's going to be about slavery. It's going to be about the Trans-Sahara slave trade. Well, it's really not this Trans-Sahara slave trade. That's actually the incorrect name for it, but we're going to get into that. And we're going to also talk about the transatlantic slave trade as well, because I believe that I can see why they don't want to discuss it, and I am a Black woman. So moving forward, I have this chart here. This is a chart of the Trans-Sahara slave trade. It's actually renamed the Trans-Sahara slave trade, but this is not the original name for it. But we're going to get to that on the next slide. Now, I wanted to read this real quick because I found this very interesting, because there is a myth. To me, it's a myth. Maybe just to me, but it's a myth that when Black people or Africans, Black or Africans, was doing slavery in Africa, they claimed that it was a good form of slavery. So I'm going to read this real quick, and I want your opinion if this was a good form of slavery. Slavery in historical Africa was practiced in many different forms: debt slavery, enslaved of war captives, military slavery, slavery for prostitution, and enslaved of criminals were all practiced in various parts of Africa. Slavery for domestic and court purposes was widespread throughout Africa. What do you think about that?
What I think about that, I mean, what is good slavery? There's no such thing. They're exploiting people that were conquered, making them work for them because of, they lost a war or a battle, forcing in the prostitution. I mean, that's just slavery. I mean, it sounds pretty evil. And I the good slavery thing is, that to me stupid. Anybody that says that. There are slave owners that are not as abusive as others, but they're not none of them are good, because you're enslaving people. You're holding them against their will. You're forcing them to do something against their free will. And I mean, you can't say it's good. And this happening in Africa before the slave trade, I mean, slavery is a worldwide thing. We think of slavery, we think about America, white people going to Africa and bringing Africans over and making them work and abusing them. And yeah, that happened, but it was going on long before in Africa, before, the Europeans got in there, people from the Middle East, people from around the world. It was a worldwide thing. And it happened in every continent, every country. And if you say you want to go to a country that never had slaves, there ain't such a thing. All people are guilty of this. But I mean, saying it's good, and are they saying in Africa they had a good form of slavery?
Yeah, that seems to be a myth that Black people believe, unfortunately. Well, I don't say unfortunately, but it's the same thing with them having it's with the Black slave owners, with they're making it seem as if they were just buying their family members, which some of them were, but they were still enslaving them. But like I said, there's this myth that the type of slavery that Black people did to one another was good slavery. But I'm going to move forward because we have a lot of material to cover. I'm going to read this here. During the Trans-Sahara slave trade, slaves were transported across the Sahara Desert. Most were moved from Sub-Sahara Africa to North Africa to be sold to Mediterranean and Middle East civilizations. A small percentage went to the other direction, which is India and Asia. Estimate of a total number of Black slaves moved from Sub-Sahara Africa to the Muslim world range from 11 to 7 million, and the Trans-Sahara trade routes conveyed a significant number of this total, with one estimate tallying around 7.2 million slaves crossing the Sahara from the mid-7th century until the 20th century. What do you think about that, Brent?
Well, it shows that there were many people involved, many nations. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, people don't know this, how big the slave trade was and how many countries were involved. I think a lot of people just see it within our country and think it's white against Black, and that's what slavery is. It's not. It's slavery is an economical thing. That's what it really was, getting people to work your fields, do labor, and do it a cheaper way. And of course, it's very cheap. All you got to do is feed them so they have strength to work. You don't have to pay a wage. You don't have to compensate them in any way. I mean, slavery's been going on since the beginning of time. You look at it biblically, the Egyptians enslaving the Hebrews, and just all through time. That's what men did. They conquered each other, and the ones that were conquered, if they weren't unalived, they became slaves. It was the way of the world back then. But this is a big thing, the Trans-Sahara slave trade. I mean, this went way beyond. And I wonder, are these Middle Eastern countries and all these other countries that participated in it, are they being sought after for reparations for the evil they
Well,
did?
Well, what black people like to do is they do talk about how the Arabs enslaved them and all this other stuff, but they're not as aggressive as it with it because they are people of color. That's what I believe. But they pretty much do the same thing as like they've done with white men. They try to make it seem as if these people just came onto the land and just took all these people, and um that's not what happened. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I am going to finish reading this. Records of slave trading and transportation in the Sahara date back as far as 3rd millennium BC. Early Roman Empire established a slave market to buy and sell slaves from the Bantu African and Styria. In the 5th century AD, Roman was trading in black slaves bought across the Sahara. The empire imposed custom tax on the trade of slaves. Black slaves seem to have been valued as household slaves for their exotic appearance. What do you think about that, Brent?
Well, it just a form of slavery, exploiting them. Again, it was a business. They're Yeah, I mean, they use slavery for work, for, they would take women and make them their concubines. I mean, and that's what they did. It was extremely evil, but that's how man was. They ruled with an iron fist, and if whoever was conquered was in the losing end of this. But yeah, I mean, it was going on, long, long ago. And this is what, Rome, from selling slaves from Africa. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and the tribe that they were doing business with is called the Bantu and African and Styria. And they we're going to talk about them further on because their legacy of slaving black people and selling them to every other group in the world, that goes from before Christ all the way to the Atlantic slave trade. But we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Let me say something real quick. In the slave trade, and look, many times it wasn't just people going in and just rounding up people in another country. There was an agreement. There was a market. The slave trade was a market. And I don't think people realize this, especially when it's our history. They think that white people just invaded Africa and just started, capturing black people and just enslaving them. No, they were brought on the shore. They were already in chains. They were already enslaved. They even sat in places for years waiting to be sold. But I just want to put that in there. But yeah, there were tribes in Africa responsible for selling slaves. It was a business. It was an evil business, but that's what it was. Sorry.
No problem, Brent, because this seems to be this seems to be the thing in our community, widespread pretty much. I'm trying to figure out where they're getting. I mean, I know where they're getting it from, but I'm trying to figure out. We all know where they're getting the stories from, so we're not going to really go into that. But what bothers me about this is the fact that they're telling these children. It's the way they're telling these children, and then they're conditioning these children to believe something that never even happened. Do you feel that's probably the reason why they did not want to cover the curriculum in that high school?
That, you know what? You got a point there. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they didn't want to dig deep into the truth about it. Because when we think about slavery, when we learn about it, the perception we have, whether you're black or white, is just white people were just ungodly, evil people, and just, they didn't like black people, so they said, you know what, we're going to go to Africa and make them slaves, and they'll work for us. And but there's a lot of things in there. Africans were making money off this, selling people. They were getting wealth. And if you look at a lot of stuff that people were sold for, we know gold and guns, weapons. Some were even just selling people for small things like clothing, alcohol, tobacco. I mean, and seriously, you're going to sell a person for alcohol so you can get drunk a couple days.
Well, Brent, we're gonna get to that, Brent. We're gonna get to that.
But here's the thing: if you put in the whole truth, you'll find that we know white people were involved, right? But we'll find out there was many black people involved, a lot. There were African tribes involved, and it's such a big logistics thing. In order to make it work, a lot of black people have to be involved. Okay. And, if you dig deeper, it takes away from that victim mentality a little bit, instead of telling, black people were kings and queens in Africa, being peaceful, minding their own business, and the evil white man rolled up and just started, lassoing them up and just taking them out of their homeland. And that's not how it took place. The African people did the legwork. They brought the slaves to the shore. In fact, the Europeans, people in the Middle East, refused to go into Africa to get them because a lot of people, were sent to meet their maker because of diseases. Okay. We weren't interconnected in the world like we are today. So, Europeans and Africans had different diseases that they were immune to, and a lot of them, passed on because they didn't have immunity to diseases. So I don't mean to get long-winded, but I just wanted to put that in there.
Well, Brent, my question is why did white people allow this to go on for so long, knowing maybe they don't know, maybe a lot of white people don't know, but why did they allow this to go on for so long, knowing that this was a business transaction and a partnership?
Why did they let it go on so long? Well, money's involved. You talk about
what I'm saying is that the whole narrative of just white people just going there and invading.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what I think it is. It's ignorance. People don't know the total account of history. That's one. People have used it for political gain, to manipulate black people to attack others' political views, trying to paint them as racist. And, there's white guilt in there. Some white people don't want to say it because they don't want to sound racist if they tell you the truth. I think there's a number of factors why they let it go on. And, and a lot of people, white people are like that. They don't want to challenge, okay, slavery happened. We know it was evil. Black people were very much abused and did wrong, but there's no doubt about that. But the truth needs to be told too. Because when you only tell one side of it, you don't get the full truth. But that plays into victimhood. We go along with that, then black people are totally the victims. white people are the oppressors, and we keep telling that lie, and then when we correct our evil deeds, and we live together, there's still that animosity. And it's like one of those things, the unforgiving sins of the past. Even though white people today didn't participate in this, you're still blamed. They still want you to be guilty, feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about what happened because I didn't participate in it. I do feel ashamed because it's an evil thing our country did. It just is what it is. But anyway, we need to be told the whole truth, okay? And not sugarcoat it, not to protect white people, by no means, but we need to know who was involved and what really took place. Then we get a better understanding. And we understand that the whole world's evil, not just America. That's just my thing, but anyway.
Thank you so much for that, Brent. Dark Mother Vessel, welcome to the live. I am so happy that you're here because I believe that Black women really need to be here because we've been told how we've been taught about slavery. What do you think about what you have learned so far from what I've shared on this live?
Well, from what you have shared on the live, this is interesting because like you said, they don't really push the Arab part of slavery. I find it funny that when they're trying to push this critical race theory in schools now, they keep on insisting that people don't want it in the school because they don't want to hear the truth. And I'm trying to figure out when they weren't telling the truth, because I remember being taught in school about, and I live in Texas, okay? We were told about the brutality of slavery, being put up on auction blocks, about breeding farms, about, I don't think that they talked about buck breaking that much because it is Texas. So I don't think they really want to talk about homosexual type things. But they definitely were talking a lot because how in the heck would we not know if they weren't telling us these things? So I'm trying to figure out where all these slow people are that are like, oh, they didn't tell us about this, this, and this. I'm like, yes, they did. You were just in the back of the class playing and, writing notes to each other and stuff instead of doing your history lesson. That's your fault. That's not on the school. And then on top of that, what I learned today from what you were saying about, the trans-Saharan trade, I mean, that is definitely something. We're going to push the critical race theory, and let's push that too. Let's make sure that is included, because I had heard of it, but I never really, that wasn't, like I said, that wasn't centered when the discussion of slavery was talked about. It was pretty much, oh, these white people went over to Africa and they try to make it seem like, instead of the chiefs selling people, what they try to make it seem like is that they were tricked. Oh, he thought that this whiskey was just like some kind of magic water or something like that, and he sold all these people for it, or a trinket of a handkerchief because of the intricate patterns and things like that. He made it lucky or something like that. That's not the exact words, but that's kind of what they try to lead you to believe, whether these chiefs were tricked into selling these people. And I just, the dishonesty for me is like, this is kind of mind blowing right now, because I'm just like, wow, they really, if you really want to push the truth, are y'all really ready for the truth? Because I feel like you're not.
Well, yeah. I'm definitely going to get to that, but I wanted to clear this up because there's really no such thing as the Sahara slave trade. I want to put that out there. The correct name is the Sahara. It's the Trans-Sahara Exchange Network. That is the correct term for it, because that is what it was. It was an exchange network. So I'm going to go over a little bit, because this is actually kind of like a business plan on how this exchange worked. So I'm going to go over it right now. The Sahara Desert is the world's largest desert. The network operated as a relay system with goods moving between different merchants, trading cities. The earliest trade started with the exchange of gold in West Africa for salt from North Africa. Islam spread to West Africa through trans-Sahara trade. Merchant caravans, known as camels, because that's what they called caravans at that time, was camels, often numbered 1,000 camels, but could be as large as 10,000 camels. Caravans often traveled at night because the days were too hot. So this was the main idea.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that, guys. I had a little disturbance. What is the main idea? This is kind of the kind of like a business plan here. North Africa developed a significant trade network that connected it to the Eurasian civilizations. Historical development, improved transportation technology led to an expansion in trade in North Africa on the trans-Sahara trade routes. Improved commercial practices led to expansion of trade in North Africa along trans-Sahara trade routes. What do you think about that? Dark Vessel?
It shows me that that, like you said, that this was a business plan. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't trickery. This was planned out, because they made a whole plan to make sure that I'll call them vessels that carried their cargo and the things that they were trying to sell and trade were taken care of. They made a plan to definitely go ahead and do this good slavery trade, or whatever the heck they want to call it. But they definitely planned this out. This was not an accident, is what that says to me. This wasn't, oh, we were just, how some of those comedians say, they was just chilling in Africa, and all of a sudden, here come these people. They made a plan to do this. So, I mean, they're not guiltless, they're not blameless. They did this on purpose.
Brent, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I would agree with what Dark Mother's Vessel saying. Yeah, it was deliberate. It was about money. It was a business. They were treating people like livestock. They brought them in to do their labor because they needed people to do their labor. And it's kind of like the same concept in, South America and in America, where they needed people to work the fields, and they could purchase these people and then have workers. And in Africa, they can make money, or, they would do trade for it. It was a deliberate setup. There was a plan. And like you said, the caravans, it don't just happen that thousands of camels show up with people on them and say, hey, we're just wandering around. Let's buy some people here. No, it was set up. There was an agreement between, the continent of Africa and then the Middle East and different countries. I mean, that business was basically selling people.
And another thing that also lets me know is there was none of this kumbaya stuff that they keep on talking about, like, oh, we just all got along and everything was great until these white devils came. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah,
the question is why are white people allowing that?
White guilt, trying not to upset people. I think in today's world, it is what it is. We don't want to sound racist, so we're not go in there and tell the truth or how we feel about it. Slavery was wrong. There's no question. There's no excuse for it. But it seems like it's pinpointed on America a lot of times. It's pinpointed on white people, like that's just something we had invented and that's what we did. And this was going on way before we were even a country. In fact, Europeans enslaved each other for the same reason, because the enemy they didn't destroy, they used the men for work and the women for, sex slaves, concubines. I mean, men were doing this forever. I mean, it wasn't a racial slavery. Didn't start out as a racial thing. It wasn't. It was just conquered people. It was just man conquering man and enslaving men. It was the way of the world. Today we don't do it. Well, we don't do it, but there's countries out there that still practice slavery, believe it or not. And they're still selling people. But,
if the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, if the question is why are white people still allowing it, I don't know, because I'm not a white person. But I also feel that it's possible because when this started, when we were all segregated and stuff, white people didn't care. They don't care what we believe or anything. They allowed it to go on because what did they have to prove at that time to say that it was a lie or anything? Like, okay, whatever, believe what you want. Stay over on your side of town. We don't care. So I mean, I don't know if maybe that's the answer to that. But again, I don't know. I'm not a white person. I can't answer for that, but that's just my perception.
I think you're right. And I am a white person. I tell you how I feel about it. I think it's guilt. Okay. Like I said, I don't feel guilty about it, but I'm not proud of it either. It's a shameful thing. It's something that happened. We can't control. It's in the past. It happened. But I think it's a little bit of guilt, and we don't want to offend Black people. I think that's what it is. And, I think a lot of people say, okay, we'll take the L on this. We were wrong. It's our fault. And we'll just accept it like that. And it is true, white people in America are the most responsible for it. So that we have to own that in our country. But there are a lot of factors in there. And a lot of Black people participated in this, whether it's from Africa and even in our country. There were a lot of plantation owners, Black men that owned slaves. And my thing about it is, this is how I feel. We need to know about it, study the whole truth, okay? And I know this sounds insensitive, but move on. And what I mean is, you know what? Let's live together and live our best life. Let's come together in our country. Let's not train our kids, the critical race theory. And I'm totally against it, because what it's going to do, in my opinion, is it's going to make these little white kids, you're going to destroy their self-esteem. You're going to make them feel guilty. And a lot of them are going to hate who they are because of the evil deeds. And then you're going to take Black children and tell them they're oppressed, they're victims. And when you're a victim, it's very hard to move forward because nothing is your fault at that point. And I think psychologically it's going to damage both of us, and it's going to keep us separated because, why should we tell little children that it's their fault what happened in the past? And why should we tell the other children that they're just victims and it's not their fault? Because a lot of times, and we see this, where they'll go back and talk about slavery, Jim Crow, all the evils of the past, and they'll kind of apply it to today's world. Oh, I didn't get a job, it's racism. Or, you know what, I didn't make it through college because of the white supremacy. And it could be they were just lazy and didn't put in the work. I'm not saying there's not racist stuff that goes on. It does. But I think it's a lot of times turns into a security blanket. A lot of times, and when you train people to be a victim, you're really destroying them, seriously. But I'm not saying forget about the past. And no, we got to know the past. We need to know the truth. And, you know, what they say, you know about the past so you don't repeat it. I mean, basically, we're not going to go back to slavery, but, you know, our laws can become racist again. We can, you know, reverse it and discriminate against white people and black people benefit. You know, you can't, and if we're going to try to be equal, which nothing's ever going to be equal. Right now in our world, I think it's economics is what, you know, separates us more so than race. But, you know, I say we got to move on, but know what happened. And, you know, we can't go back and make it fair, because white people will never go through what black people did. There's no way possible. They're not going to enslave white people now so we could make it fair and you went through what we went through. No. Black people got the short end of the stick. But how do you end racism and all this stuff? You end it by ending it. You don't end it by getting revenge and flipping it around. And, you know, but that's how I feel about it. Okay. It was an evil thing that happened and it's shameful. Okay. And we shouldn't hide it. We shouldn't sugarcoat it, but we need to know the truth, the whole truth. And not just to benefit one group over the other, whether it's black or white. But anyway,
Well, guys,
sorry.
I want to, yeah. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of staticky a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys, because I have my headphones on because I have some work going on in the back. Yes, I'm a little staticky, you said?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little
But-
choppy.
A little bit.
But guys,
Okay,
I'm
let-
sorry I got
let me-
long-winded.
No problem, because I want to move on, because I really want to get
Yeah.
through all this material. I have like 22 slides here, so you guys, so people could really see the bigger picture of what was really going on in slavery, whether it's the Sahara trade exchange, and people need to start calling as what it was. It wasn't the Trans-Sahara slave trade. It was this Trans-Sahara exchange. It was an exchange market. That's what it was. And that is what people need to start calling it. Excuse me, guys. I'm going to take off my headphones.
Okay.
You guys hear me better now?
It's still a little choppy.
I'm
I
so
don't know.
Maybe it just needs a little time to adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I just took it off. So moving forward, Islam spread to West Africa with Muslim merchants who traded in the region. By 1300, Mali kings had converted to Islam. Mensa Musa from 1312 to 1337 made it the state region in 1324. So we're going to actually look at who this king was. Well, he was really a pharaoh, but he wasn't a king because they didn't have that at that time. But we're going to take a look at who this man was, Now, this here is also another kind of like a business plan on how things work. So West African trading empires increased trans-Sahara trade. Main idea: Mali, Senegal, used the power of their government to increase trade in West Africa and across the Trans-Sahara trade slave. The Mali emerged in 1235 because of the plentiful reserves of gold within the territory. Mali became one of the world's largest gold explorers. What do you guys think about that?
He's one of the largest gold explorers or exporters.
I'm sorry, guys, exporters.
It's more proof that he again, that they try and say that, oh, these people were tricked and all this type of stuff, but that they basically gave away, I mean, they sold them, but they gave away all of the resources of the land. And for them to try and now cry foul and say that, you know, oh, these people came in and took over and they did this, that, and the other, no, we really were sold out by the people that lived there that were native to this place. So he's one of the biggest gold exporters. It makes me kind of wonder, like, what did he do with the wealth that he attained with it? Did he, as they claim, did he put it back into the community to make their village or wherever he was from? Did he put that back in to build something in the nation, or did he? I mean, what did you do with the money?
Well, we're going to get into that. Whoever is in the back, I'm going to let you up after this video. I want you guys to watch this video real quick. It is on the exchange. Just stay tuned for a few minutes, guys.
Much of northern Africa. In earlier years, the Sahara was a fertile region, as depicted in African paintings from as early as 12,000 BC. These early illustrations portray animals such as rhinoceros, elephants, and hippopotamus. However, from 3000 BC, the area began to transform into a desert. The Sahara Desert eventually covered a territory of over 3.2
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'm just gonna probably not play that. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna remove it. Give me 1 second. Yes, Afro Diaspora.
Yes. Hello, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for having me up. And really, I'll get right to it. I really just came in to create awareness that regardless, the Caucasian race globally is experiencing a population decline. Each majority Caucasian nation, the fastest growing demographic of people of African
Brent, I love it. They're here, Brent. Brent, they're here.
regardless.
Okay. Hey, let me explain the
To be
population.
completely honest,
let the Caucasian address
all
it.
populations
Yeah.
are experiencing a
Wait,
decline.
guys,
Not
hold on.
African.
Let him speak.
Hey,
Trust
let
me.
me explain this, okay?
Let-
Yeah, he is right. There is a population decrease with Caucasians, and I'll tell you why this is happening. In our society, we are having less children than we used to, okay? And you know,
that's everybody. So
yeah, but
Not
in
people
modern
of African descent.
Exactly.
Okay, let me explain it. Okay, look, I'm going to talk about the Caucasian side, and then I'll talk about what I see in Africa and people of color.
Because
right?
Africans are
Okay.
growing in number.
Okay. Hold on.
excuse me. Hold on for 1 second, sir. Sir, this live is about the straight slave. So if you're not here to talk about that, then I'm going to remove you from the live.
That's literally what I came in to discuss.
Would that be the Africans
okay.
that are now breeding with Chinese women that y'all let into all of the different nations of Africa? So are you counting them
That
as
means,
Africans?
yeah, let me respond to that. That means that you are agreeing that the population of people of African descent is definitely increasing.
So it's not
Okay.
actually black people. So it's just African descent. So anybody mixed race, just like y'all like to claim that any white woman that gives birth to your child is automatically black, even though they're
Let
not,
me
and they're
respond.
biracial.
Let
So
me
no.
respond to this.
You don't need to respond to anything, because
All
let me
right.
tell you exactly how this is going to go ahead.
All right.
Because you don't know, because you guys always do this. Every time that we try and do anything for ourselves, you guys come in here and start detracting and just, you know what? If
Miss,
you
you
are
have a
so
white man
damn
amongst
happy,
you.
yes,
Yeah.
we do. You know why?
So
Because
why did
white
you
men
say
have
we?
not gone around and been telling everybody how horrible we are and how wonderful their
Miss,
women are.
I
So
love
you
you.
can go ahead
I'm
and
not
leave. You know,
saying
you
you're
do not love
horrible.
me. You do
I
not
love you
love
as
me,
a
because if you
sister.
love me, you would have a whole
We are
freaking channel
family.
telling all of the
Hey,
freaking black men that say
Miss,
these horrible
you
things
can look at
that
my
they needed to
content.
sit down. I do not.
hey,
Look at your content for what? What? So you can sit
I'll
there and
uplift the
pretend that you
African
love
American
black women
man,
and then
women,
turn
and
around
family.
and say all kinds of things. Really? Do you have any
well,
children? Do you take care of your
Yes,
children? Are you in
definitely.
your children's lives? No, I
Every
mean
day.
actually,
All
are you
right.
every
Well,
single day you're
guys,
taking care of them?
Every
hey,
day.
guys,
Every day.
Sorry.
yeah.
Hey,
So like I said, sir,
yeah, and I was
African
trying to
Diaspora
have
News.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
was
but
trying to.
I want to talk about slavery, guys. I don't want to change the topic. If you do not want to
Yes.
talk about what we're talking about, Africa Support News, I'm going to remove you. So it's
No, I
either you
came
want
here
to
to talk about slavery. I came to talk about
okay, so
slavery.
you came here to
Yes,
talk about slavery. So if you talk about
definitely.
anything else, you will be removed from this live.
Yes.
So let's talk
And
about
yes,
slavery.
ma'am.
Let's talk about what you did. That's what we're here to talk about.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if you're not here to talk about
Let me
what you
respond.
did, don't come to this live.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking
And
about
can you?
what you
Yes,
Negroes did. That's what the hell we're talking about.
yes, ma'am. And can
And
you
you
grant
lying
me
on
the
all these
respect,
other races of people. That's what we in here talking
Miss?
about. Okay.
Can you grant
All
me the
right.
respect as a panelist? Can you
No,
grant me the
I don't give a
respect as a
fuck what
panelist
you
No,
are.
not to cut
I
me
don't give a
off?
fuck
hey,
what you
hey,
are.
Yes,
hey,
ma'am.
you
Let's
you
let's
you
All
cut
respect
right.
each other as family.
hey, you cut me off when I was trying to explain the population, because
Bro,
that's what you do.
respectfully,
You
Brent,
come
Brent,
in, you come
let
excuse
me
in.
me,
respond.
Brent, don't respond to him because that's a part
Yeah,
of their
just
gaslighting manipulation tactic. This is
yeah.
why I just don't know why
Let's
you
stay
just
on
don't take
focus.
these men out. Just take them out. This is
Let's
what
stay
they
focused.
do.
You know
Well,
what?
well, number one, the
Just
white man cannot take me out. The white man is not capable of taking.
oh, whatever. Yeah, you were just taken out.
I
I'm so sorry, guys. Look,
this is what they do. I can't. It's like, why can't you just get rid of them already? It's like I don't know why you guys allow them to still be here after all this time. Like,
I know, right?
the world would be so much better if you just let me stop. Let's move on with the slavery. He can stay in the back all he wants. I'll let him up if he's still there, because this is what they do. And then you have these kids out here. This is what they even do to their children. They got these kids out here believing this nonsense that ain't true. So let's move on with this. Okay. Now, look at that. Well, you know what? Since you're here, Mr. African middleman, because the African middleman is here. I'm glad he's here. Let's let him back up and let's see what he has to say about this. Are you still here? African middleman. African middleman. I want you to talk about what's on the screen. Don't talk about anything else.
No, please, let me address this. Let me address this.
Excuse me. You see, sir, I'm going to ask you nicely. Talk about what's on the screen. Explain to me why you sold your people. Talk about that.
Yes. Let me respond to this.
Talk about that.
Yes. This is very direct.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm trying to respond
why
to
did you sell us off? Why did you sell us off for tobacco and alcohol?
Miss, I'm trying to respond.
Why did you do that?
Yes. Just as there are coons today, there were coons 400 years ago that sold some niggas to crackers. Yes, this did exist. What's your point?
Okay, so why have you been lying about it for generations and generations then?
Miss, never hear me lie. I always acknowledge that we must confront the coons along with the crackers. We must confront them both. Okay,
well, all right, we'll see about that. So moving forward, I'm going to keep you in the back and I'll put you up when I feel like it. So moving forward, because you see, this is a part of the psychological manipulation tactic that they do. And this is what they all do. Even the members of my family will do shit like this. But moving forward, this here is I call it the Trans-Sahara Slave Traders Family Business, also use slave trade. And this is a whole entire group of men that passed down, that this is a whole genealogy pool here of men. This is actually who was the pharaoh at the time of the Sahara trade slave when it was really popping. Mansa Musa, he was still to this day, he's like the richest man that's ever lived, but he gave all his resources away like they always do. Doesn't that sound familiar? Okay, so now that we have the African middleman, he's gone now. Dark Mother, do you have anything to say? I'm so sorry about that.
Sorry, I kept my microphone on mute because I was going off, because I'm so sick and tired of this every single time that we try and do this. When we were trying to talk about coming up and being the best women for the job, here they come. But I understand that but the problem of us, with this lie, because what you were saying, that's something that I actually do want to address, the lie. Why did y'all allow the lie to go on for so long that, it was just the white people and this, that, and the other? Well, if it was just the coons, then what about today? So I guess just about every male Black celebrity is a coon then, because that's what they do, is go around telling everybody how awful, certain Black people are and this, that, and the other. But yet you want this kumbaya and everybody to come together.
Listen, I've been telling Black women this, their behavior has never changed. They were pimping you out then, and they're going to still pimp you out, because that is who they are. That is their character. That is who they've always been. That's who they've always been. But we're going to move forward from that, because I found this slide very interesting here. Now, how were the slaves obtained? Okay, now Mr. African Diaspora wants to come back up. I'm going to actually have him come back up, because this would be his area here, because he would have to explain this. So it's actually good to have the African middleman here. We have the merchant here. We have the African middleman here. No pun intended, Brent.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a discussion out of him. He can't have a discussion.
Well, you know what? I like having them up. I like having them up so the world can see who they really are. That's why I like having them up.
All these crackers and this, and what he'll do is he'll put in his little talking points, because he's superior, because they're having more children. That's what poor nations do. They have a lot of children, okay? And a lot of them are starving and not being taken care of. And that's what I wanted to talk about. The white population is going down because we're having one or two kids, when back when we had farms, we had 15, sometimes 20. So we're not dying out.
Right, let's not talk about that, because he's trying to get us off the topic. That's why he came here to talk about that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why he came here to manipulate and gaslight. That's what they do, because they don't want this to come out. They really don't. So moving forward, now this is a scripture that was written by an Arab that was right. So I'm going to read this. Aside from raiding, slaves could also be obtained by purchasing them from local Black rulers. The 9th century Arab historian, the Arabs explored Black slaves belonging to I can't say these words, but these are all different African tribes and nations and stuff like that, and other Black races who are near them and who they capture. I hear that the Black kings sell Blacks without pretext and without war. Indeed, it was rare that African rulers would resist the slave trade, and usually they would act as middlemen, rounding up members of nearby villages to be sold to visiting merchants. The 12th century Arab geographic noted that Black Africans would also participate in slave raiding, stating that the people of Lima are perpetually being invaded by their neighbors who take them as slaves and carry them off to their own lands to sell them by the dozens to merchants every year, great numbers. What do you think about that? Hello?
That I'm calm.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Basically, they all, since we're always talking about, dehumanization of people, that's also another thing. This looks like dehumanization of their fellow Africans that they went and decided that they were not worth or worthy as people. So they because I mean, when you're tribalist like that, you doesn't matter even if y'all look the same. Sometimes there's people out there that just, if you're from a certain place, I mean, we do that here in the United States too. Oh, you're from Florida. Ooh, So I mean, it's just more dehumanization is what I'm seeing. And the fact that they sold their own family members, that's pure greed right there. I don't really know what to say about that. That's just,
Well, yeah,
I can't,
traders
as much as,
organized and operated their own slave trades. Traders bought slaves from African kings and chiefs. Some were prisoner of wars between tribes. Some tribes raided other groups. Villages ordered to capture slaves to sell. Some sold their own family members, even themselves. Isn't that a little familiar? You see the pattern. What do
yeah,
you think about that, Brent?
I think it's something that's happening today. And this African news dude or whatever he is.
Yeah, let me put him on a little bit, because now that we have, no pun intended, Brent, but, we're going to consider you the merchant today, and we have the African middleman today. Look at that. I think this is going to be an amazing live. What do you want?
Yes. Well, number one, I wanted to bring to y'all's attention that
Stay on topic.
No, this is definitely on topic. There were definitely African female slave traders, such.
Yeah, there he goes. He's blaming women again. That's what we.
right on cue.
Hey, you know what? This guy is a beta king. He really is.
It's the women's fault.
Oh my God. Yeah,
let me let him finish. Listen, let me let him finish. Just let him talk. Listen, I love it. Okay, let me let him back up. Okay, sir. Go ahead. So, black women were selling everybody. Go ahead. That's okay. Go ahead.
But really, all I wanted to say is, we as people of African descent, let's unify. And just as there are Europeans throughout Africa and outside of Europe, we as people of African descent, we can increase the population of Africans in Europe. We can do it. Literally, that's all I came to say. But as far as the slavery, yeah, this is very wrong. And the coons that were complicit must be held liable of the past and today. Yes, we must hold the coons liable along with the colonists.
I am so glad that you said that, because that's what we're going to do. Enjoy your day, sir.
Yes.
And he needs to quit blaming women. Quit blaming women, sir.
When did I blame women? So you just going to lie, cracker? You just going to lie, cracker?
Oh, okay.
You proving you're a Caucasian colonist, man.
Hey, you know what? And you know what?
You just going to lie, cracker? I'm laughing, cracker. You just going to lie.
Call me names.
I'm asking if you just going to lie.
All right, well, shut up and let me talk.
All right, well, go ahead and make the point then, ho. Make your point, ho.
Ho. You're going to call me a ho. You know
I'm listening, bitch. Go ahead and make your point, ho.
You punk ass. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. You're losing. You're a loser. And if African people would have united like you're
big talk on the internet,
trying to say they should do, slavery would have never happened. If Africa would have united like this clown says they need to do, there would not been a slave trade. But they sold out their own people. They were conquered by their own. This beta is making the point. All he can do is call me names. You can't have a discussion. He's already lost. He's a loser. And go ahead and try to unite Europe. What we're going to do is we're going to have more interracial marriages. And hey, and you know what? I encourage that. And more white men need to get with black women, so black women could be treated right for a change, so they can quit being exploited. You know,
Yeah,
so they
well,
can be
you
treated
know,
like women. But you know
listen.
what? He wants to be lifted up like some king, and he can't even have a conversation.
Yes, well, it's about to get better and better. Lady T. Oh, Lady T is here. Oh, I love Lady T.
Right.
Lady T. I gotta put up the link for Lady T. Oh, all of you are gonna love Lady T. She's wonderful. But now we are now going to move forward with the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, let's ask the African middleman that's here. I want to ask him. Let's see what he's gonna say. Okay.
Yeah.
African
Number one, I
middleman.
want to address. They were
What do you want to
definitely
say?
Caucasian. They were definitely
Shut
Caucasian
up, Beta.
slaves as
Shut
well.
up, Beta.
They were definitely Caucasian slaves.
Yeah, you know
So
what?
we have to acknowledge they were definitely subjugated Caucasians. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
They were definitely look up the
okay,
Barbary slave trade.
Let's
you
start
gotta do is
black
look
man
up the
excuse
Barbary
bingo.
slave
So we
trade.
already got blaming the women, white supremacy.
Just look up
What's
the
next?
Barbary slave trade. We traded Caucasians as slaves as well. We did it.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, you did, because you have harems
Yes,
full of
in
white
fact.
women, because that's
Also,
what you
look up the
prefer.
Moors. Look at the Moors that
Those are the
conquered
ones with the harems.
Spain, Italy, Portugal, etc.
Dude, you're priding
So,
yourself
just
of
as
having
no,
slaves?
it's not about praise. It's about acknowledging that just as we
okay.
were weak, Caucasians were also weak. We have to acknowledge that.
Well, you're weaker. You're dumb. That's why we took you down.
That's your
So,
jealousy
I'm just
talking.
saying.
That's your you mad that your kids gonna look more like me than you? You mad about that?
No, I
Yeah, right.
If you got any mulatto,
hey, you know what? I encourage that. Hey, my kids can look dark. That's fine. They'll be better people than you. We'll breed out the bait in them.
Brent, let's stay on topic because that's what he's here for. Because it's so interesting that he's saying that. Because I thought that if we have children with white men, we're creating white children. Isn't that what black men
you
always
are what
say?
your father is, right?
Yes.
You are what your father is.
You see how they are. You see how. Listen. When they get in front of these men, but now it's white men and black women together, it's a whole other different story. He can stay in the back. I'm gonna go and continue this live. Now that the African middleman is here, he's here. So slave markets and the African middleman. Okay, the Fenty served. This is a tribe in Africa. The Fenty served as a middleman in the commerce between the Interior and the British and the Dutch traders on the coast. The Fenty became a very wealthy and prosperous state upon the dealings with the various European power. Okay, so this is called the salvage. I'm sorry, I can't say some of these words. The salvage slave market is an 18th century slave market located in the district of Ghana. During the transatlantic slave, it served as an important market where slaves were transported to the coast for export. Guys, what do you think about that?
Are we waiting for what's his face to talk, or are we commenting?
Yeah, I was asking you guys. I don't know. I think I'm a little delayed, guys. I'm so sorry for the bad connection this live, but I don't know why.
It's not delayed. It's just that I put myself on mute because after I went off, because I felt I went played right into his hands because it made me mad.
Yeah,
but
you know what?
But no, I put myself on mute.
On the African middleman, let's talk about what the African middleman did. Let's focus on that because that's what he's here. He's here to try to. He's here. This is what he's here for. He does not want us talking about this. That's why he's here. So let's fill in the back. So he's still here.
We could talk about this, but yeah, they were very much involved, and you could see his mentality, right? It's about trying to project superiority. Look, black people can be as evil as white people. I mean, this guy was boasting about Africans having Caucasian slaves. That's interesting. I find slavery to be shameful. I don't embrace that. That you know.
Well, the
But
African middleman on these slave trades right here, though, is like
yeah,
it just shows that they have always had a desire to not only betray their supposedly their own people, but also to be in close proximity to people of other nations, and do anything and everything to get that proximity. So basically, and to be completely honest, if you're thinking of it from a business part, perspective, then I mean it's understandable, because if you want to buy land in somebody else's country, then of course you would have to sell and trade them things so that you can have access to other parts of the world.
yeah,
But but this part right here is just, it just shows that if they're going to be the middleman, that they only have loyalty to self and to whatever their goal was, which was to be on a world stage and be able to buy other goods and things from other places. So, I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand what the excuse is of trying to say that that this isn't stuff that actually happened, because this was a business mindset of, whoever gets hurt be damned, I'm going to get mine, is what I see for this.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to move forward because this is going to get better and better. Because I really want to go through this presentation while the African middleman is here. Okay, African middleman, are you still here? You have
Yes,
anything to
hello.
say? Yes, African middleman. How are you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing well, thanks. And really, I appreciate you
Yes.
allowing me to come up.
Okay,
I'm
I
coming
want
with
you to talk.
respect.
No, excuse me, sir. Talk about the slave markets and the African middleman. That's what we're talking about. What do
Yes,
you have
and
to say about that? What do you have to say about
yeah,
your men, your ancestors doing this? What do you have to say about that?
these are also your ancestors.
No,
And
those are
yes,
your
these
ancestors.
coons.
Those are your
Let
ancestors.
let me address these
Mhm.
coons, please.
Okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
they must be held culpable. And one way that we can hold the descendants of these coons culpable is by putting pressure on African nations to grant descendants of transatlantic chattel slavery citizenship by descent.
Okay, that's what he's claiming. He didn't ask for reparations. I'm saying that he didn't ask for reparations because I
Yeah,
don't
that's
want to
it.
go back to any country that didn't want me there anyway. But moving forward. Okay, this is Zanzibar Trade Market. This is another trade market. This was also operated by the Bantu and another tribe in Africa. And this was a very famous trade market. We went over the first live, the first part one. We talked about Tipu Tip. And Tipu Tip, who was one of the most successful African trade slavers, him and his son, these are both black men. That I don't know if you guys remember that this is the Zanzibar slave market. Let me read this here. Zanzibar was home to one of the largest slave markets in the world. Although the slave trade took place all over the island, 3 major markets saw the bulk of these inhumane transaction. Brent, what do you think about that? Hello?
I'm
Is he
sorry.
muted?
I had my I had my
No, that's
I
okay.
was talking
Oh,
and
good.
I
He
was
dropped.
muted.
Fine. He finally dropped off. Lady T is here.
Okay.
Yes, Brent, go ahead. And then Lady T, we're gonna get to you.
Yeah, I mean the slave trade is just so huge here, and they're being brutally treated by other African people. And it just goes to show how much logistics is involved in this whole thing. White people couldn't just come in, invade, and enslave people. And I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I believe if African tribes band together and didn't allow the slave trade, it wouldn't have happened. But actually, they were part of it, a big part of it. And these people are being mistreated, and we're being seen different parts of Africa that's taking place. And that tip two, what's his name?
Yes, his nickname is Tipu Tip, but he had an Arabic
Tip.
name. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
and was
actually
it?
try to bring him up. I'm gonna try to show you a picture of him.
Hey,
You can you see that's actually a picture of him right there in my
Yeah, I see it.
where my that's him right there.
What was he a Muslim? I'm trying to think.
I didn't see any research of that. All I know is that
Okay.
he was Arabic, he was Muslim. Black men that were Muslim, a lot of them were not allowed to be slaves.
Yeah,
Right. So any black man that was Muslim were not slaves. So they were not allowed to be slaves. It was actually against Muslim law at that time. I don't know if that still exists, but that at that time they were not allowed to be slaves, and a lot of them were trade slavers and owned trade markets as well. But I didn't want to cut you off, Brent. Go ahead.
No, that's what I was just going to say. But we're seeing this taking place in many parts, and it's just such a big transaction that's taking place to purchase people. What we're looking at back in the day, they had to be held, they had to be chained up, they had to move these people, they had to go into different tribes and round them up. And what you were saying in the beginning, how even they were taking their family members and selling them off. And I think, didn't it say they even sold themselves? I mean, that's, how could you be that dumb? But I'm just I mean,
is anybody surprised? Is
I'm just
anybody
like, wow.
surprised? Has the behavior have any change? Lady T, what's your opinion on this? I'm so happy to see you.
Hey, Pro. Hey, panel. Hey, Brent.
Hey, how's it going?
I just want to say thank you for doing this live. I'm one of those people that I don't delve that deep into the slave trade market because, you know, I know what I need to know, right? African males of that time sold their own people out. We all know that. And that's what's happened. And I'm glad that you're going in and dissecting the different types of slave trade that there was back then, because I think it's important, especially since we're going through the same things now with, you know, sex trafficking and enslaving young women into the sex trade. They're doing the same thing here. So I'm glad you're doing this.
Absolutely. And then when I don't want to change the subject, but when I talk about male progression and male behavior that progresses over time, and if I'm comparing that to different men, who's perpetuating the same behavior that they've been perpetuating for thousands of years? And I feel like Black women, that's not clicking in Black women's head.
Right. They're still the same today as they were then. I mean, they have the same
evolved.
Mentality. Right.
They haven't
have the
evolved.
same mentality. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is another slave market here. This one was established in 1502. It's basically the same thing. They traded 5 days out of the week. The slaves were exchanged for whiskey, gunpowder, cannon, ceramic plates, mirrors, umbrellas, iron wires, and other articles. And in the red is the group that was a part of this. The group in Africa that pretty much owned this particular slave market. Dark Mother, I'll start with you. What do you think about that?
continuing on from basically with the last slide and whatnot, and what y'all were saying about how we see this still going on today, it just shows me that after all these years, I don't know how many years has it been, hundreds, thousands, that they still have not found other ways to make money without selling out. I mean, do they not have any type of intellectual property or?
Well, that goes into a different story. I mean, I don't want to get into the male hierarchy here.
Okay.
But yeah. I
I'll
don't know.
answer it.
Oh,
I'll
go ahead,
answer it.
Lady T.
It's because that's who they are. They're degenerate. That's who they are. It's not about making any money. They were selling people for trinkets. They were selling people for broken glass. They weren't getting any assets for their people. They just don't give a damn. They're so remedial that they would sell a whole tribe for some broken glass, for some barbed wire. Just random shit.
They were trying to pretend like, oh, they were tricked into doing that because they didn't understand the worth of it. And I'm just like, I don't know about that.
Right. And they weren't doing it for gold bars or jewels. They were doing it for bullshit. The same things they do today.
Pro white male leadership. Are you? I'm not trying to get ahead of where you're at. Are you going to talk about the people that like sold a little African girl being slaughtered in front of these white men for some trinkets? Is that in here?
It's not. That's not in here, unfortunately. I'm just trying to just go over these type of topics now. Just so Black women pretty much can get a kind of a visual of what was really going on, not what Black men have been telling them. So unfortunately, those things are not. I'm just trying to focus on the structure of how slavery was.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to focus on right now.
Can I say something real quick? It's no surprise because the average one of them will sell your ass out now for a do-rag and some tube socks and shea butter. They will sell your ass for that. They don't
and a Black and Mild.
Exactly.
Hey, I got a theory on this, okay? Maybe they were such big participants in this, is maybe they just admired White Zaddy, the white man. Maybe they thought, oh my God, if I could be like him, I could sell a few people that I don't care about in this village. And
Brent, remember when I told you and what Vincent said? They are in love with y'all.
I've said that plenty of times.
Love with y'all. I'm telling
that's why
you.
they want to. That's why they want to send him videos and stuff. Is that what he was trying to do in that last one?
Oh my God! After that, I was like, I'm convinced what you said is true. Oh man, that guy was gay.
Because you guys are the masculine men, they're the feminine men. So I go into my male hierarchy, and the most masculine men, they are the least masculine men, and your men will be the most masculine men. So, and nobody can tell me that I'm lying about that. So
I agree with you. I've told Brent they want one of three things. They want to be dependents of you, they want to replace you, or they want to be inside of you. Those are the three options with them.
And yeah, pretty much.
It's very true.
You know what?
And it's not just white men too, it's other races of men too. So
any masculine man, any man that exhibits the masculinity that they lack, they have a homoeroticism towards.
You know, I never thought of that, but that's probably true.
Yeah,
it's true. What? Yeah.
Lady T, a few weeks ago, I would have said no. She's just.
I know. Every time I say this, Brent doesn't want to accept it.
Are you in denial, Brent?
That is disturbing.
But he does admit that they do show up in his inbox saying, "Oh, you got a Black wife, so what are you going to do for me?" So what do you think they're talking about, Brent?
Yeah, I thought it was financial, but I'm starting to think they want
Wait,
other
what
things.
what are they gonna?
It's
What
a
is
little
Brent
bit
gonna
of
do for them? Like,
everything,
what do
Brent.
they own his wife or something? And he's
A
like,
little bit
and
of
now he has to
everything.
pay for her.
No, in black man's mind, when a white man shows that he is attracted to black people, they don't see black women, black men. They see black people. Oh, you like black pussy? You'll love this pussy. That's them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is most definitely true.
Oh my God, this
Whoa,
is just.
Lady T, you crazy girl.
This is the truth. Y'all got to
Okay,
hear
so
it.
so the L is Lady T. Okay, because you were saying something on another line, and I was like, "Who is this talking?" You was just spitting. I was like, "Heck yeah, you and pro white male leadership, y'all just just going in." I love it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Guys, we're gonna have some fun in this live, but I want to get through this presentation real quick. So this is other trade other slave markets, the central slave and ivory trade. These are this was a network of 6 locations. I cannot pronounce any of these, but these are other markets. This is started in the 19th century, and these are also other trading points and trade markets as well. But I really do want to get to these slave castles. This is a slave port right here, and this is an estimate of 20 million Africans. An estimate 20 million Africans passed through the island between the mid 1500s and the mid 1800s during the African slave trade. What do you guys think about that?
Hold on. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, that slave port. I saw a little bit about that, and I think Obama visited it. They had like a place where they held the slaves till.
Oh, that's the slave castle. That's coming up. It's not this.
Oh, okay,
There
okay.
is actually a castle on this island. There is. So if you do research this, that is, I just wanted to get different. I just wanted to show you guys kind of the business structure of slavery. So I have a little bit of everything here. It's just kind of a summary. It's not everything, but there was actually 40. It's in total 40 different slave castles were built on the coast of Africa with the assistance of African men. Because African men, yeah. So, yeah.
In order for this to be successful, Black African men, I guess, would have to have had a heavy hand in this. No colonizer could have run this operation solely on their lands. So this was a supply chain that was kept going by African men, no doubt.
Yeah,
and you know something? Sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, Dark Mother.
And what else? Because what you were asking about in the last couple of slides and with this one, this also shows a trend that they absolutely are. They're always saying that, you know, Africans are so spiritual and this, that, and the other, but they seem to really enjoy selling and taking part in pleasures of the flesh. It seems like so. I'm looking at this because I mean, yes, you're selling people because they have you can make them work and other things, but they are also a body, and it's you're selling things like gold, you're trading for things of whiskey, you're not actually trading for resources that are actually useful. This just lets me know that this is definitely an export of pleasures of the flesh. It seems like that's just
they enjoyed it.
Listen,
they enjoyed it.
They're demonic, and
you're building
they're
castles
demonic. They're
and
demonic
ports.
entities. I'm telling you, they're demonic, and they're black male worshiping mothers, and these black male, they're all demonic entities. I don't think they're human. I don't. I know what they're all demonic entities to me. They're not human.
It can't be, because that other slide that you were showing us where they were doing all these horrible things to these people, they were basically programming them into submission, because that's what you do when you want to keep somebody from running away. You make them believe that there is no option. So you beat them and probably starve them. That's how, in more modern times, how these people, they're like, oh, they find these underage persons that were with these people for a long time, and they wonder, well, why didn't they run away? It's because they basically programmed them to believe that this was normal and it's okay.
Yeah.
So wow, that's slave port though. That's basically welcoming and sending out your degeneracy to the world is what that is.
Yeah, and I wanted to add something about, programming people. And then when they had children, they were already born into it, and it made it easier because it's a way of life. But I mean, at these slave ports, I was watching a show where they were saying that some were held for like 2 or 3 years till they could be sold off. And some of them, passed on while being waited to be traded off or sold off. But yeah, this thing, the logistics is crazy. Mm-hmm. And black men a bunch of them had to be in on this because there was disease at the time. Europeans refused to go into the center of Africa and round them up. They wouldn't do it. Because people were losing their lives just making the voyage just because of disease. The people that went in the ships, they lost a lot just by disease. The African people, a lot of them lost their life because you got different groups of people from different parts of the world with different immunities to different diseases.
So Brent, can I ask you a question as the resident oppressor on this panel?
Yeah.
What?
Okay, I'm going to take over and colonize this panel. No, I'm just kidding.
That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. You're the merchant, the oppressor. That's what we're going to call you. We had the African middleman here. We had all parties here. So, but you're pleasant, but the African middleman, he's not pleasant. Sorry, Lady T. Go ahead.
So I'm going to ask Brent, you put yourself in that time period.
Okay.
When we're going to say you white men, collaborated with these Nigerian men on this supply chain of African people, was it ever your intent to, when you collaborated with them, let me ask you, what was your intent during this collaboration? Was it just because I think a lot of Black men think your intent was to rule the world together at some point. What was your original intent for participating in these slave trades?
Okay. What I would say is the intent was to take care of my homeland where I'm from. Now, I'm just playing along. This is what
you're playing along. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is what they wanted. Look, I have, plantations back home where I grow all this stuff. I have these indentured servants, but they do have some rights, but I want the maximum amount of dollars. I want to grow my wealth, and it's going to grow the country and the process. And these guys I'm partnering with, I'm going to manipulate them a little way. I'm going to show them some neat things they've never seen, and we're going to trade. And with that, with the labor I'm going to get, I will get far more wealth than these guys will ever do. And if I got a few dummies that will sell me a few people for some alcohol, hey, I got a boatload of that stuff. But my intent is building my empire. And that's the mindset of men back then. It's about your group of people. It's about your nation, your empire. And we're going to take advantage of these dudes because we can. And we're just going to do it. And we're going to build our nation. And at that time, we don't care about nobody else in this world. It's about us. It's about power. It's about conquest. And every man was about that back then. And that's what we did. And that's what they were doing. They manipulated these chiefs and stuff. They'll give them alcohol, some neat little trinkets that look neat that they think they got to have. And they don't care about the tribe next door because they've been fighting with them for centuries. So here you go, take them. You know, these guys, they look healthy. They can work the field. The women, well, do what you want with them too. Here you go. Just give me, you know, another jar of that whiskey and we'll make a deal. But that's how I seen it taking place.
Thank you, Brent. I'm glad you said that because I know there's some dust somewhere listening in the clouds. And you said what I would say. These men were thinking about their own people. It was not the African men they were the ones that weren't thinking about their people.
Yep. That's it in a nutshell. And you know what? They really didn't care. They sold their family members, they sold their women and children. And you know, it was evil for the men to take part and manipulate these people for their own empire, but that's what they did. That was what people did. Europeans didn't do anything different that Africans did. It's just that we had more technology and we took it globally towards the end. That's all it was. But yeah, that's I think their mindset, building their country, their nation, their empire, and they're going to take advantage of these guys. And I think they let them do it. And but anyway, that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to take over, Pro. I just wanted I know some dust somewhere to hear that.
No, that's
I actually have.
fine. I understand. Yeah.
I have something to go along with that I just thought about, but I see you we're on to the next slide. So
no, go ahead, Dark Mother. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that also kind of reminds me of how certain Americans are here nowadays, that they already had the wealth and the resources and everything, but they were so bored with what they had, they tried to get things from other people. And instead of, you know, appreciating the resources that they actually have for themselves and, you know, spreading it with other people of their nation, they were bored and just wanted to go and like, oh, what's this over here? And now that they've basically gambled and lost, now all of a sudden it's all about, well, we need to come together. We need to do this. Well, you weren't thinking about we when everything was good and you had it so well. You wanted what everybody else had instead of appreciating what you had. So that's kind of it.
Hello? Yeah. Oh, okay. She must have.
My headphones died. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, I just thought that was an interesting thing, but y'all go ahead because I'm gonna go and get my wired headphones. But continue.
All right, no problem. So yes, this is a castle that was built in contract with a few different African tribes, but the main tribe, I cannot say this. The main tribe this was the main tribe. We're going to talk about that main tribe. They still have a descendant living today that is still in power in Africa. That comes from the people that helped build this with the Dutch. I think it's Denmark and Norway. And if you see in the yellow here, this was the African ruler during the build. That was the African ruler that was around during the build for this slave castle that's on the coast of Ghana. What do you think about that, Lady T?
Again, elaborate supply chain. Again, the men there had to be in on it. They had to do this. You can't explain this and say an oppressor or colonizer organized all of this on your land.
Exactly. We're going to move to the next one. All right. This is the people right here. This is what they look like. These are the men. So I wanted to read this treaty because I found this very interesting. So this is the name of the tribe here, and the founder of the Ashanti Empire had formed an alliance since the late 17th century, also formed an alliance with some Fati westwards during the reign of the king I can't say that. The Dutch signed a treaty with this tribe on the 3rd April 1702, which saw the Dutch bound themselves to assist in any justified war with a force of 100 fully armed men, 3,000 pounds of gunpowder, as well as 300 pounds of bullets. What do you guys think about that? So they had a treaty together.
Wait, who had a treaty together? The Africans and who?
The Africans and the Dutch. This tribe right here had a treaty with the Dutch to supply them with 100 men, 300 pounds of gunpowder.
Wait. So the Africans are going to supply the Dutch with 100 men.
No, the African tribe had a treaty, so the Dutch can supply them with 100 men and 300 pounds of gunpowder in exchange for some slaves, due to the fact that this tribe had a lot of issues with other tribes trying to take over. So they signed a treaty that if something was to happen, the Dutch will supply 100 fully armed men, 300 pounds of gunpowder, as well as 300 pounds of bullets.
Yeah.
It says to me that they absolutely had they didn't have any type of military backup. Not really. They probably have warriors and whatnot, but they understood that firepower was definitely going to be superior. That's what that says to me.
Yeah. And that was the technology of the day, because if your enemy had spears and you got rifles, you got a humongous advantage. And that was protection where they can, and I understand why they had that treaty, because they could dominate all the other tribes, because you got 100 men in there with you, protecting you with rifles instead of spears. You could hit them in the field before they get close to you. And then, they got some slaves out of it. I mean, and there were other tribes involved in the slave trade. They said, you know what? They're doing this too. We'll give you these people, but you give us 100 men and, gunpowder, and where we could just dominate. I mean, it was an evil transfer, but actually there was a strategic purpose. This tribe wanted to dominate.
Yeah, a lot of these middlemen and these organizations in Africa were raiding different tribes with these white European men. So it was something that they were doing together. The European men will supply them with the things they need, and they would go into the exterior Africa. It was majority of them, the African middlemen, will go into the exterior Africa and gather up all these people. So this whole pillaging of the community of these people was not done by white men. It was done by black men. Just white men was supplying them the stuff to do it. Because they were
like crack in the 80s. Just like with the sex trade now.
You guys see the pattern?
Yes. White men gave them the guns and the drugs, put it in their neighborhood, and what did they do? They used it against their own people.
And then on top of that, like even with the music industry, like we used to have, I guess, diversified type of music that was, of course, there were some top people talking about, struggles and things because that's where they came from. But there was also people talking about romance. There was people talking about families. And now you don't hear any of that anymore. It's all about the drugs, money, and pimping and stuff. So, I mean, that's just, they'll sit there and try and blame white people for that, but that's the pattern. Oh,
right.
you want from the white man, so you go to their record label, and now it's all their fault that you're only singing about drugs, money, and violence and all that type of stuff. You want it from their resources, but now it's their fault that you did what you did with what they gave you.
Yeah, you know that's a good point. And there's another thing. I have discussions sometimes, and some of these betas will tell me, they say, you know what, you talk about the marriage rates, but back in the 60s, we were the most married, most this and that. The government took the men out of the house. I said, okay, well, you know what happened, right? You know what the problem is. So marry the women in your community and fix it.
Nobody can take you out of your home that you hold the deed to. They need to stop that.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean?
We don't want to change the subject, Guy. I
Yeah.
don't mean to be rude because I want to get through this, guys, but I am going to have a live on that law that they had in the 60s. That's going to be on a live soon. So don't worry about that. But I understand where you guys are coming from. But I want to move because I have so much material here to cover. I'm sorry to cut you guys off. But this here is actually a list of all the rulers from 1505 all the way to current day. And this is the same tribe. These are the same. This comes from the same tribe that owned this castle. So they have a descendant that's still living today, and he is in power wherever he is, I guess in Ghana. So this is it here. This is the family tree of men, of African slave men right here. Another one.
Oh, so they can keep something in the family.
Wow. And it goes to the present today? Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
If you see it right there, if you type in this guy's name, 2011 to present, the descendant is still alive. So
are those castles still standing? I'm not trying to step one foot on African soil. Are those castles still alive? I mean, still around?
Yeah, they're now museums. A lot of them are museums now.
Oh, so the white man doesn't just blow up everything they build, huh?
Yeah, in fact, Obama went over there when he was president and visited one of those castles. He might have visited more, but I remember seeing him on TV, him and Michelle walking through there in Africa. Yeah, they're still there.
My thing is, and I'm not saying I'm an expert in African histories because I don't plan on ever going, but it's crazy that these structures exist with the stories, but we can't understand that obviously African men were, implicit in these actions, right? They're castles, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm. They made their wealth off of it.
Right. So it has to be a collaborative effort there. I just don't understand how we still can say some white men on a boat and just came over and just snatched some slaves and that was it. It just doesn't make sense.
It's intellectual. It's easy. They don't want to dig into the complexities of what was going on. It's just white man bad, and that's the end.
Right. With these structures still standing today. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's really that. I just think that Black men were able to manipulate Black women, and that's what I really believe it is. But I think that because we are evolving more than they are now, we're not falling for it anymore. That's what I truly believe.
Yeah.
But these structure has been standing for thousands of years. I mean, so there was no point of this whole white men on a boat snatching slaves when these infrastructure has been around for years. These slave markets still exist. You can go to these slave markets. They're still there. They're not running. They're just museums now, but they're still there. So, but I wanted to touch bases on this because because Black men actually talk about this situation here. There were white men buying Black women as wives, and there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 countries in Africa that is made up of white men and Black women.
Really?
So yes. And these are the 5 countries right here. And these are white men that bought Black women as wives during that time. What do you guys think about that?
Wow, I didn't know that existed.
I did not either.
My thing is, if white men were buying them, someone had to be selling them.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
just
what
think
it
that that's
says. It says that the women had a very exotic appearance. That's why the Arabs were buying a lot of the women, and not the Arabs weren't just buying concubines. Some of them were also buying black women as wives as well. So not all of it was concubine. Uh, but a lot of them were also buying them as wives as well. So that was happening too. And then we have 5 countries here in Africa that is made up of white men and black women here. So,
Oh, that's
well, that
funny.
so that's
explains the reason why they don't really talk
that
about those
story
countries.
that story that black men do tell about us going with white men. I think this is what they're talking about here. So
Oh, okay.
that is
Oh,
Hey, I want to address a comment. A. Lauren says that's my favorite place. Well, if I was around back in the day, probably would. Beautiful black women around. I mean, um,
this also kind of dispels the myth that white men do not like black women at all. If you got a whole 5 countries
hey,
full, like, wow.
yeah, that's why the shift is going to take place, because white men love black women. Let's be honest. Not everybody's out saying it like I do, but they do. And you know what? This is proof. Look,
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. There were white men not going to Africa for that. I mean, there were white Portuguese men. Most of them are Portuguese men. They were looking to establish their own place, so they wanted to marry black wives, and they established their own countries. And these are the countries here that they established. And this is mostly, like I said, white men buying black wives. And you have 5 countries in Africa that is established based on that. So I just wanted to cover that real quickly.
wow.
So basically, so not only were they selling off the resources in Africa of their gold, minerals, and whatever else, they did also sell off their women, the very people who birthed the nation, the most precious resource, because they made it seem like we were just sold as, just another thing. That's insane. Huh.
Well, you know what? It goes to show how a lot of these beta kings value women, black women today. If they're going to sell out their women, that's their best resource. It's worth more than the resources in Africa and all the other stuff that can be done. Your women's your best resource. That's your treasure. But hey, if they want to give away black women because they don't like them no more, hey, there's white men like me that love black women, and black women make awesome wives and mothers of our children. So I guess they don't see the value in women. They don't see the true blessing.
Well, according to this whole live, they don't value anything that doesn't pertain to themselves.
Yeah, and then a few of them were dumb enough to sell themselves because of their great greed. Like, that just makes me.
Yeah, to be like, this is. Well, guys, this is another slave castle here. There's actually a number. It's an international number, so you guys probably got to get one of those cards to call, but it's still around. I just, wanted to put it out there. This is another slave castle that, so, and this is by the Fanti tribe. So one of the tribes, it was the Fanti, and I think the Ashanti owned this with let me see here. They've owned this with another European. It says Guyana's, as they became both victims of continuous violence and successful brokers of enslaved human beings. So, yes. So this is another one here. And look, it's Google. See? It's real.
Yeah. No, I mean, I believe it. It's just that this is insane how, if it's this simple to find why is it, like, as you were saying, the original question, why have we been going along with this lie for so long, that it would, like, that these people were complacent with, and why has it always been, oh, it's just evil white people? If they made wealth enough that they had castles, they have ports, they have whole mixed countries in Africa. Like, what is really going on here? And I'm very concerned, and I guess this is why I'm very concerned about our education system here in the United States. If they're not talking about this part, I've never heard any of this.
Well, let me move to the next. That's more of the castle. I want to get to, this is another castle right here as well. So another slave castle. There's the information. You can actually go here. There's actually a train station right next to it if you see it right there on so just wanted to.
Can we just talk about how beautiful these structures are?
Oh, they are.
Compared to what they were used for? Because black men of today will have you think, that they can't build anything because the white man gonna blow it up and take it.
Mm-hmm.
You built something this elaborate for that purpose.
The castles were not built by black men. It was just contractual. It was built by white men, but they got the land from them. So they had partner ownership because of the land.
Wait.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me the Africans supplied the land? They couldn't even build. Lord, this is just worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that real quick. Yeah, there's no way they can build these because they don't exist anywhere in Africa. Those were and you can see that's prevalent. The structure of the castles is definitely European. Just African men supplied the land because you don't see these structures anywhere else because they don't have that capacity to do that. So this is it here. And like I said, it says here in 1652, the American Swedish company employed this guy here, a Polish merchant, to negotiate a land deal agreement with the authorities of Ufa II, the small African kingdom that controlled the Gold Coast. So there you go. And this is in yellow down here. That is the person that was around at that time.
Looking at that picture now, it does look like European influence on that building. Just looking at it.
Yep. And let me move forward.
This is just insane because it's like the lie is that they just put up the good fight and they would never do any of this type of stuff, and yet here they are with these giant structures with European influence,
with contractors coming in from Polish to build it. Like, this is like we're talking in modern times.
Wow.
I also wanted to share this website with you guys. It is called www.slavevoyage.org, and this is also documented routes between Africa, ports of Africa, and where they ended up. A lot of it was South America and the Caribbeans. And you can actually go to this website and see all the journeys that was made from Africa to South America, mostly South America, because 41% of the slaves did go to South America and the Caribbean. Only 5% of the slaves came to America. And this is a whole entire database that can there's a whole entire database that shows all the journeys made, the name of the ship, the location of where the slaves were bought, how many slaves were bought, and the name of the captains.
Wow. So, okay, only 5% came to America. So the reparation payment's only 5%. The rest of the nation got to pay the rest, right?
Yeah, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. They'll have another peaceful protest outside your house.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is all recorded. All of them were purchased. All these locations are You see it here, Cape River. All of these are locations where slaves were purchased, where captives were purchased, are all in Africa. And these are all the ship's journeys. It tells you how long did the ship, how long was the journey. It tells you, and you can go to this website right here, www.slavevoyage.org, and you can look at that up.
I'm going to have to, because this is also something that they would never discuss with that critical race theory stuff.
Well, that's not the plan of it. It's to create permanent victims and permanent oppressors. That's basically what it is.
I'm just saying, yeah, it is, and I'm just saying that, like, the telling the whole truth about it is like, I guess, okay, since the topic is, you know, about the Black history lies and all, it's like what is the purpose of not telling all of this stuff? You want to continue to have generation, and then y'all keep talking about how it's generational trauma, but y'all keep talking about telling the same lies generation after generation after generation, and you don't mention any of this.
Because it will strip them of their perpetual victimhood. You can't say you were victims of white people when you had castles contracted out to be built so you can supply them with the slaves. You just can't do that.
Wow. I'm literally dumbfounded right now.
Yes, everyone, please go to this website. This is a great website. When I found it, I was like, yeah, I had to show this to you guys. You know, this is an amazing website here. I mean, great information. You can even get the name of.
Drop that website link in the chat because I want to click on. Can you drop it in the chat?
Give me a second because I have it here. Hold on for a second. Yeah, hold on.
The only reason why I'm still dumbfounded about this is because this information, you found it. This information is out here, but all these people who claim that they're pro-Black and they love Black history so much, they couldn't find any of this stuff and share it.
They like Black history, not African history. Two different histories.
Oh, well, I mean, this started it, right?
Right, this started it, but they want to start at Jim Crow. I'm sorry.
I get you. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm answering my own question. It's flabbergasting to me that if we want to sit here and talk about all this African pride and this Black pride and this, that, and the other, and yet if we have such a rich history, y'all, the internet made this stuff available, but y'all don't want to talk about this part. Y'all purposely sweep this under the rug and keep talking about. This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. But it's the white people that hid this part. It's not okay. I don't know.
Well, let me explain what happened.
I'm having a little bit of an existential crisis right now.
Yeah, let me explain what happened. White supremacy. Look, white people came out from a mad Black mad scientist that decided to hate himself and create Black or white people. And then white people went to a cave, and then, you know, they were bumping in the walls, and then they said, you know what? We got this thing called white supremacy. We'll just control people's minds and steal all their, you know, everything they have. And yeah, there were Black people involved in the slave trade, but their minds were controlled by white supremacy. They had no choice. They were like robots, and they just, you know, so that's really what happened. So, you know, yeah.
Hold on for 1 second, guys. We have somebody in the back. Let's see. Oh, Yellow Poppins.
Yeah.
Hi, Yellow Poppins. I hope you weren't there for a long time. I'm so sorry.
Hey, Pearl. Hey, everybody. No, it's Yelling and Poppins.
Melanin
It's okay.
popping.
It's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
Like melanin popping, but yelling it. Okay, got it.
Exactly. Hey,
Melon.
ladies, I just wanted to pop on really quick. Pro, I love you. I was saying hello in the chat. I wanted to make a quick little note about the whole slavery thing and black males never ever in their lifetimes going to take accountability for it. But I remember there was this slave master in the Congo, I believe. I think he was a son of a chief, and he actually would do business with a lot of British, Portuguese. He went to England, saw how they built their own structures. Now I don't know if you guys talk about this, 'cause I literally just got here, but he went to England, ordered a bunch of like window panes, all the kind of just like someone said, building a castle. He saw the structures and the homes that were in England. He came back to Africa and built structures of the houses that looked just like the one. So they weren't in shit huts anymore at that time, because a lot of these African men were selling slaves, going to Europe, copying Europeans, bringing it back. And instead of inventing things or purchasing bullets or cannons and things like that, they were just building houses for themselves. And it doesn't surprise me, because black men take their wealth out of the black community now, obviously, and what do? They build mansions and keep that wealth outside of the community. So that's literally all I wanted to say, Pro. Thank you so much for letting me up.
Oh, so that's a little bit more in depth about what we were talking about, because she was
Okay.
showing us those
Mhm.
castles.
Okay,
Wow.
I'm
Yes,
gonna be silent and sit
absolutely.
Wow.
back in the chat. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah. Well, the
Good enough.
castles were built by white men. It's just that white men, African men provided the land and also the slaves to also help build the castles. So, yeah. So
And you
just
know
wanted.
what's crazy? They couldn't even tear them down if they wanted to, because it doesn't belong to them. They sold the land to the Europeans, so they can't even
Oh man.
tear it down if they wanted to, because they don't own them.
Brent, remember
Yes.
when I say that you guys always win? Remember when I said that to you? You guys are always
Yeah.
gonna win.
You know what? You say that, and yeah, ironically, you're right. I mean, and when it comes to marriage stats and stuff, and when white men get with black women, we're going to win again. I mean, but you know what's making us win? It's not that we're white men. We're no better. It's just we're more strategic. And we're seeing the potential that we could have with black women. We're seeing the value in black women, and we're starting to move in that direction. And I know there's someone in the chat say, yeah, black boys don't like black girls and this, whatever. Our marriage rates are a lot better with black women than white women, and a lot better than black men with black women. Our marriages last longer. They're more successful. But I just thought I'd throw that in there.
You know
And
why?
that's how we're going to win. Go
Because
ahead.
black women are more about keeping culture alive, and so are white men. They like to preserve their culture. And right now in the Americas, because a lot of black women are Christian, and so are white men, that's why their marriages last a lot longer. I
And
just felt say that.
I'll go further to say that also black women tend to be more conservative, just like white men, even though they vote
Mhm.
liberal. Never understood that. But they
Yeah.
tend to make decisions more so in conservative ways. But they
Mhm.
vote liberal on behalf of black men. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I
so
can't
right.
see a white man and black woman combo doing this type of selling off of their goods. I mean, they might sell some, but I can't see them doing it to this degree. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put this out here. This is the Global Slavery Index. I don't know if you guys know about the Global Slavery Index. It actually talks about where slavery is prevalent the most. So this is the current state of Africa right now. Estimated number of people in modern slavery is 9 million, over 9 million. Regional population global estimate is 23%. Forced labor is 37%. Forced marriage is 63%. And your chances of being a slave is 62%. What do you guys think about that? And this has been recorded in 2008.
Wait, so in 2008 they did a recording of this is slaves today or
Yeah,
then
slaves today. Yeah.
wow.
So this to me this says to me that they're not keeping up with with current trends. They want to continue to rehash the past instead of going with just like they retell the history of what happened in the past. They're also trying to do a retelling of what's going on today. They're not um, they're not keeping current with what is going on, that slavery still exists, that they're not that they only want to focus on one part of slavery and not the whole of it, as it pertains to the trafficking and people in other countries and things like that. Because forced marriages, and that's another thing too, with the subjugation of women being forced into certain types of marriages because of their situation or because of their family situation. And some of those being, if you watch any documentaries, unfortunately, them not being women at all, some of them being children. So I don't know if those are included in the forced marriage percentages, but it's showing me that they're not looking at the broader spectrum of slavery and just wanting to focus on that one little bit.
Yeah, well, this is a calculation of the continent of Africa, basically. So this is, yeah, and you can
Oh,
actually,
so it's just Africa.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is www.globalslaveryindex.org. That's what that is right there. So, yep. But I
So
got
if
some,
this is 63% forced marriages, how many of those are child brides, does it say?
well, I think we already know what the question of that is because we see what Black men are doing today, don't we?
Yeah, very true.
Okay.
And we're going to see an increase of these child brides and sex trafficking as these quote unquote Black males with passports start to pan out to these third world countries. We're going to see those numbers increase.
And Black women better not get involved with that. Okay.
Well, they are,
That's
unfortunately.
not get involved with that. Whatever those men do to them, that is on them. That has nothing to do with us.
Correct.
So Black women better not get on because these Spanish speaking countries are but I'm not going to really go into that. So it is what it is. I'm happy that it's going to, whatever happens to them, it happens over there and it has nothing to do with us. And it has nothing to do with us. It's better, and it's better for other men of color to do something to them than white men to do something for them. So it is what it is.
Right. What I say is Black Lives Matter stops at the borders of the U.S. because once you go into these other countries, they have their own way of justice.
Next article. This is from 2008 as well. Poverty drives some Kenyans to rent out their wives.
Rent out as in wife behavior like cooking, or you know what? Never mind. I'll be quiet.
Well, this is the article right here. You guys can read it. The husband is also a male sex worker as well. But he rents out his wife to a German man for 10 days at a time due to the poverty, it's so poor over there. So, yeah. But I just wanted to show that, it's what they did then, it's still happening now. That's all.
You know what? Can I say something on this?
Sure.
And this can apply to passport bros or whatever, which they say they're just going to meet good women, good wives, and do it, traditional or whatever. But if you go over to these countries and you mess with the women, okay, this human trafficking thing, you're contributing to the problem. Okay, and this is disgusting. Who would rent out their wives and be sex workers? But in third world countries, people are desperate. They resort unfortunately resort to stuff like this. And if you're going over there in the, neighborhoods of these third world countries and you see beautiful women and they cling to you because you got money, you don't even know the evil you're doing. I'm serious. But this is disturbing. It's different if you go to a class of a neighborhood, to a class of people like you that aren't desperate to try to get money out of you. But I think a lot of
Grant, I'm gonna have to stop you there. They are going to the class of women like them because they're the third world citizens here.
No, okay. Right. No, but what I'm saying is when you do that, you're contributing to the problem. And young girls are getting exploited. Okay.
This is insane because it says that he rented her out as a wife and she's waking him up to meet clients and basically what the heck is this even? I don't know. I guess I'm confused because it's like he's like literally renting a wife to wake him up and serve him breakfast and so a maid then? Is that what she's doing?
Well, the German man is attracted to the man's wife's skin tone, so he rents her out for 10 days at a time. This is what's going on.
Oh my
It's just a pimp and hoe situation with a marriage license, basically.
Yeah,
Oh
and
wow, yeah.
you know what? That's been done in this country too. There's documentaries on that where BMs were pimping out black women. I mean, and even some being married. So we look at this country and say, "Oh my God, how could they do this?" But this has been done in our country too. Yeah, it's anyway. But I was going to say, but if he's written out his wife, is it just a maid? Or what else is this guy doing to his wife that he's renting?
I'm sure it's some
Well, that's what
sexual
I'm
things
saying.
at play here. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying because I'm sitting here trying to read the little bit of the article and it's like he's like, "Thanks for waking me up. I hate being late for my client." And she asked me to help her until the next weekend, and he's still see like so. Is she his maid or what is she doing?
Well, they're trying to be nice about it, so.
Yeah, the article is PG, but we can use our
Oh,
imagination.
Mhm.
okay, I see. Okay, that's why it's rent out your wife instead of pimping. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm going to end this live in 30 minutes. I want you guys to let me know, what do you think about this so far, what I presented today? I know I was a little off today. I'm so sorry about that. But what do you guys think so far about this information?
Let me say I'm glad you put it out there, like I said before, because I would have never researched it because I'm not interested in it. But it's good to see, for people to see just how involved the men on the continent were in these slave trades, and they weren't victims of it. They were willing participants, and they supplied the goods to slaves to these men.
Yeah, I would definitely go along with that because I would research this. It's just I would have no idea where to start or even to look for this stuff. But I'm glad that you did because I will definitely watch again. I'm gonna get me a nice little pen and paper and do like some homework because that's insane. I can't believe that the castles and the ports. That's what like threw me. I was like, whoa, because they try to make it seem like oh no, they just came over and took everything.
Right.
You
They
didn't
try
make
to
it
make it
sound
seem
like
like
y'all were
a
a
boat just pulled
partnership
up.
and y'all were building stuff with these people.
Right.
Just wow.
They trying to say like a boat just pulled up on the dock like a damn charger and just pulled up and snatched some slaves and headed out.
Yeah, like they're just standing on the docks. No,
Exactly.
I can't. This is crazy. But I guess it's true. If you put it in a book, Negroes won't find out about it because I sure didn't. I didn't know any of this.
You know what? This was a good live. Pro white male leadership. The research you did. Look, I learned stuff today. There's things I knew about the slave trade, but I mean, there's stuff I learned today. A lot of stuff, a lot of information, and you know, regardless of what you think about us on the panel, Pro White Male Leadership's channel, she's bringing knowledge to everybody here, and this is good. And I enjoy this live, learning something. Okay, this was an evil process that took place, but we're understanding it more, how it was put into effect, the logistics behind it, who's involved, different countries. I didn't know that America only had 5% of the slaves. I thought they would have had more. You know, well, that makes sense. South America had.
That's what you would think from every single slave movie that was produced here.
Yeah, that's what we think. Yes. Oh, did someone say something?
No,
I'm
I was
muted.
just agreeing.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't have thought. And then those 5 countries that were from what, Portuguese men marrying black women. I didn't know that. I didn't know the country had descendants of white men and black women there. I mean, this is.
Yeah, because some of the white men were not going there for that. Some of them were going there for women. So yes. So during my research, because that's something that black men have always said. So during my research, that did pop up. So that is true. So there were a lot of Portuguese men that were going there for black wives. They were not going there because they thought they were exotic, and is built of white men and black women, Portuguese men and African women.
It's really interesting.
Yep.
But I thank you for this live. This was a lot of good information, and I appreciate the work you put in to research all this. And look, this is, you know, we learned something today, and I think that's what's important, you know. And ladies on the panel, it was a pleasure being up here with you, listening to your perspective on things. And, you know, I'm glad I was here for this live. I am.
Same, Brent. I'm glad I came up. I think we all learned something today. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so very much. Because
because it's over. I'm sorry, guys. It seems like black women had just been lied to. Oh, I can't date a white man because of this and that. And well, you were sold to him, so why can't you be with him? So now we have all the excuses in the world to be with white men. We were sold to them. So technically we belong to them if you really want to think about it.
It just shows that, yeah, it is. And it just goes to show that there's not just a such thing as white guilt. There's also black woman guilt. They use that tactic to shut us down whenever we might think that we want something else. Because I noticed that when it comes to other races of men, like Asians or Hispanic, they still try and use that tactic. And it's like, wait, but here's an Asian person. So maybe the men already knew about the trades and whatnot to other places, since they keep using the same excuse for no matter what man that a black woman wants to be with, that's not a black man. So that's kind of crazy.
Bro, can I reply to someone in the chat real quick?
Sure.
So Bobby's channel said to us, so disrespectful to the legacy of our ancestors,
Oh,
especially
please.
to the people like Frederick Douglass and
Who
Harriet
married a white
Tubman.
woman.
You guys are so insulting. Have it better than our ancestors ever did.
I
And
gave
didn't
him
Biden
the
is
say
link.
that.
Why
exactly
does
right. We
wait a
do
minute?
have it better because of white men, not because of
Hmm.
them.
Like literally, on that other channel I was talking about, she literally, one of her followers showed that Frederick Douglass like got rid of his black wife to marry a white woman.
But before he got
So
rid of her, he used her
yep.
to get where he wanted to be,
So
and then he
so try
discarded
again
her.
with that Frederick Douglass crap. Try again.
And he brought up Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman had to shoot a lot of you people. Sorry,
And then
Carl.
her husband like leave her because she wasn't free, and instead of trying to get
Exactly.
her free, he went and married some other woman. So try
Exactly.
again. So who else you got? Bobby? No? Nothing? Okay. Well, anyway.
Like I said, black men have been able to manipulate and gaslight us, and they can't do that anymore. So that's the problem. But I did have I had the what is it called? African News here. He was representing the African middleman, and you know, all he wanted to talk about is the decline and da 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 and stuff like that. He was really trying to deter this live here. So black men, they don't want us to know this. They don't want us to know the truth, how they have always been pimping us out to every racial group on the face of the planet, including your brother, your uncle, your cousins, your fathers, and all that too. They ain't no good.
And I apologize again for engaging him. It's just that makes me angry every single time we try and do something like this. Here they come with that BS. And the first thing out of his mouth is, "Oh, white Caucasians are having a decline in their population." What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
And does that make you somehow better because your population of poverty is still going up? What is that?
Yeah, and hey, I apologize too for white leadership. I went for the bait, but the thing of it is,
No, it's okay. Don't worry about
but
it. That's how they
hey,
are. I know. Don't worry about it. I knew what he was trying to do. But it's okay. Don't worry about it, guys. That's what they do. So those guys are so funny to me because it's like what they. Sorry.
If you would have let him talk a little bit more, he would have been trying to market his pussy to Brent. If you'd have let him talk just a little bit more, it would have
I'm
ended
telling
like that.
That's why when he was talking, I was like, do we have black man excuse? Bingo! All right, he already blamed the black women. He blamed white supremacy. What's next? Like, I got a bingo.
Yeah, the first thing he said was, "Well, black women were selling slaves too."
yeah, they were overpowering the men and selling them off, I guess.
Well, because we're so doggone masculine, don't you know?
When they go through all their excuses, it still ends up with their pussy being the end result. That's what they want.
Yep. And this just proves it. They've been doing this for a millennia over that. So it is what it is. So yeah, pro-white male leadership gave you your proof. Swirl as you please, do as you please, because they have been selling you to these men. It wasn't, oh, they've been raping your grandmother. I mean, that happened, but I'm sorry, graping, because I forgot we can't say certain words. They have been SAing your grandmas and your ancestors. How could you sleep with them? Well, so did you, and you sold us to them. So thanks. See you later.
Yeah, but I wanted to say this. I wanted to thank all these African men for selling us to a better group of men. I really wanted to say that. I really wanted to thank them for that, because at least there's one thing that they did do. They did sell us to a better group of men. So I have to give them that. And I wanted to thank them for that. But my last question to you ladies here is, from what we have learned in this live today, have the behavior of black men, have their behavior changed?
Absolutely not.
Not even a
Absolutely
little
not.
bit.
It has gotten worse. It has gotten worse.
Yeah, because now that we have the internet connection, it's global without the ports and whatnot. So
Oh yeah, well now I was gonna do something on that. Well the new slave market now is social media.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the new slave market. And their passports too.
go over there and go mess with them other groups of men if you want to. Don't come back. Well, you
Yeah,
probably
and
won't be able to because they'll probably keep you over
yeah,
there.
I
because
heard
But yeah.
someone mention.
those Hispanic men don't play over there. So, and they're a completely different type of Hispanic male than the ones that's born here. So they have really no idea what they're getting themselves in. I mean, everybody see what's going on. They're being deleted over there because so, and then they have a racial hierarchy over there as well. So they're really at the bottom. The only thing that's helping them is the status of white men that created, which is the American status and the American dollar. That is the only thing that's making them. That's it. But outside of that,
Right.
that's it.
I know. Well, where did Bobby go? Because he didn't say nothing about the Frederick Douglass and Harriet after the ladies ate him up about Harriet, and I said about Frederick. Well, Bobby left. Okay.
To ask, do you guys have anything else to say? I'm gonna end this live in about 10 minutes, ladies.
Nope.
I
Just
don't
thank
have
you,
anything.
and I will see you later. I'm going to leave the studio so I can continue watching on my laptop.
Okay,
Thank
you
you.
guys
I'm
for
gonna
being
leave.
here.
Thank you so much, Pro. Thanks, Brent.
Yes,
Thank you.
no
Bye-bye.
problem. Thank you, ladies, for coming. I appreciate it.
Good to talk to you, ladies. And Pro White Leadership, it's been a pleasure. You know, awesome live. Thanks for the research and educating us today. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the panel too. This was awesome. But I'll see you around. You take care, young lady. And
Absolutely.
and everybody in the chat.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank
It's coming from you. You being here, Brent, means a lot to my channel. It really does. Yes, because I think it's important for Black women to start talking to white men about these things. I think it's very important.
Yeah, and it's time for us as white men to, stand up and just tell Black women how we feel, and
Yep.
it has to happen. You love Black women, you need to say it. And it's a beautiful thing. But anyway, Pro White Leadership, thank you so much, young lady, and you take care. Awesome live tonight or today. And the ladies in the panel, you were awesome. And in the chat, love you guys. I'll see you soon. Have a good day.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night. I want to thank everyone for watching this live. It's been wonderful. I wanted to bring this information to you guys. I think this is very important that unfortunately what we've been told has been a lie. I have an affiliate link in my chat box. Please click on that link to support my channel. It is appreciated. I am going to do my best to make sure you guys have all whatever you guys want to talk about, we could talk about. Now it is Women's Month, so there's going to be certain topics that we have to cover. Black femicide will be one of them. But we're not going to just cover Black femicide. We're going to talk about Black femicide and the protection of white men. That's going to be a live that we will be covering this month. I have two private lives. Genetic counseling and male performance, as well as the situation with MLK. I thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you again. Thank you for the support. Thanks to all my Patreon members. Thank anybody that sent me a Cash App. I appreciate your support, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Help my channel grow. Good night, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Pro White Male Leadership.